It's the best job I've ever had. And I don't know if it's just because we own it, and I'm sure that's a great thing. But no, if this was my job, just going to work every day, this would be a pretty great job because all we're doing is making people happy.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Real Pasadena Podcast. This show is dedicated to sharing the experiences of local business owners and inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs here in Pasadena, Maryland, and beyond. My guests on this episode are Wendy Spalding and Tim Troutman, owners of Kona Ice of Northeast Anne Arundel County. Wendy and Tim were looking for a way to increase their income when they stumbled upon Kona Ice. After extensive research, the couple decided to go all in on the franchise, unknowingly right before the COVID-19 pandemic began. But Wendy and Tim leaned into this unexpected challenge and began connecting with the community. With the support of their corporate leadership, not only were they able to survive, but have grown their business to include a second truck as they head into their 5th season. In our interview, Wendy and Tim share why this top 5 franchise, which has donated over $150 million to date, was the ideal fit for them and the community, who continues to embrace this classic Maryland ice treat. This episode is sponsored by Buxton Media Productions, your one-stop shop for video production, podcasting, and editing services. Whether you're looking to produce a promotional video for your business, create more consistency with your social media content, or even start your own podcast, Buxton Media Productions has everything you need to get started. They even have a local studio right here in Pasadena where we're recording this podcast. To learn more, visit them online at buxtonmediaproductions.com. Wendy and Tim, thank you for being here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
On that note, 2020, COVID hits. 2019, you decide, I'm going to go into business. I'm going to start a Kona Ice truck. I want to talk about why you chose that particular franchise, but what were you doing before that? Like, what led up to the point to say, okay, I want to go this route and start a business of my own?
Go ahead.
Well, I've been in sales my entire life, so I just knew, I was good at selling stuff, and I knew I liked to talk, and I even told Tim we need a food truck, but like I said, we're not chefs.
Yeah.
So, and then Tim happened to be driving home and saw the truck.
I remember Kona Ice from my son's daycare. They would come once a week. You give them an extra $3 or whatever
during
it was
during the
summer.
Just like we
they'd
do.
They'd come once a week and serve these snowballs and shaved ice. In Baltimore and in Maryland, we call them snowballs, but there is a slight difference. But I remember, and then also I remember going to an event up in Hunt Valley at the amphitheater up there. And there was a Kona Ice truck there, which just happened to be Kona Ice of Central Baltimore County, which is Joni and Claude Elmore. And I had a Kona. That was the first time I ever had a Kona Ice, and I'm like, man, these things are good, And I mean, I grew up in Baltimore. I've had snowballs and shaved ice all my life, but it kind of stood out. So I have a mechanical engineering background. I did compliance inspections on aerial fire and utility equipment for over 20 years. And along with that comes bad knees and bad hips, So I had the hips and knees replaced and got into real estate for a little while. But as from a sales perspective, I am not aggressive when it comes to real estate. So 2 years and 3 transactions later, it was probably time to get out of that.
Well, I'm sales and marketing, and he does the rest.
Right, I run the operational end.
Good compliments
good
to each
balance.
other. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that's me. That's all the nuts and bolts thing, and that's my jam. It's as simple as that. I love it. I love to know how things work. If you know how to work, if you know how they work when they break, you got an idea how to fix them.
Yeah.
Nice.
We are a good team.
It sounds like it, and obviously you've proven that with your success so far, which we'll talk about. So when you were doing sales,
yep.
When did that
and then you decided we're going to go into business for ourselves? Like, what was there something
sales never
specific?
really ends.
Yeah.
You're always in sales. So I was doing, I rented office trailers. I have sold storage containers. I worked at my dad's used record store selling records. I even worked at a cemetery.
Cemetery plots. Wow.
Yeah. And then I got a job at Chick-fil-A doing catering.
Okay.
And I really liked that. I liked working at Chick-fil-A. I liked being in charge of catering. But then and then COVID hit and we got the truck. Well, we got the truck before COVID. But
Yeah, we were looking, we had some money saved. And we were figuring, okay, we need to do something here. The real estate thing wasn't working for me. And I mean, we needed an income. So I started looking into, I happened to see the Kona Ice truck drive by one day while I was headed, I'm like, oh, I remember that. And he may have had a label in the window that says, would you like to own one? Or something like that. So I went and started doing some research on this. And different franchises and this, that, and the other thing. And Kona Ice always filtered to the top. We could not find, this is weeks and weeks of scouring the internet for people's opinions and things on, and nobody had anything bad to say about it.
On the franchise side? Or?
Both, actually.
Okay.
It was like, oh my God, Kona Ice is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then you'd wind around, you'd listen to, in Entrepreneur Magazine or in franchise magazine, in these franchise magazines, it was always top 10 franchises to get into. Kona Ice was always in the top 10. Well, hell, now we're in the top 5. It's consistent.
Yeah.
And this was the absolute best decision I think we ever made.
Yeah.
It really was.
It totally was.
So what ultimately made you decide to pull the trigger, and what did that process look like from a franchise standpoint? It's a little bit different from starting your own business from scratch, right? Mm-hmm. So how did that process begin?
Well, the franchise, when we came on this, the franchise was 11 years old. Okay. So the first thing they give you is a success guide. And, it's this binder full of proprietary information, basically. And it's like, read it, follow it, you will be successful. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
It's a very simple business model,
And then we went to Kona College.
Oh, yeah? Tell me about that.
3 whole days.
3 whole days. They teach you everything that you need to know about the truck.
Okay.
The mixing.
Yeah, they teach you all the
You go on a field trip and serve kids. We had to drive the truck around the circle. And then we got to take our truck home.
Get your Kona license,
Yeah. It was great. We didn't actually.
Did you have to travel for that?
College. I didn't go to college.
Oh yeah, we had to go out to. So Kona Ice is headquartered in Florence, Kentucky.
Okay.
Which is a little bit. It's west of. It's south and west of Cincinnati, Ohio, for a reference, for a geographical reference. But yeah, that was his hometown, and that's where he stayed. And now there's a big old complex out there now, and
it's grown.
Yeah,
every time we go there, it's getting bigger and bigger.
He keeps saying, he's like, once it was like, I had a bookkeeper the other day, and he goes, now I got a whole floor of them over here, that kind of thing.
Wow.
So
it's getting, I think it's the largest food truck company.
We are the largest food truck company in the world under one corporate umbrella.
Okay. Startup cost, did you have to invest in it?
We did have an investment. Of course, we had an investment to make. It was very, very reasonable as compared to some of the other franchises out there. Extremely reasonable. It was easy to get into. The whole idea about this whole Kona Ice from Tony Lamb's, he's our founder and corporate president. He didn't want people to buy a franchise just because they needed someplace to park a pile of money. Mm-hmm. He wants owner-operators, at least to start with. He wants owner-operators. He wants people to, to get in this, get their hands dirty, and this, that, and the other thing. And that's us.
Yep.
There's 3 of us.
We talked about, there's like an interview process, right?
There is.
They don't just hand them out.
There is an actual an interview with him, and it's just a casual talk. He wants to know where you're coming from, and this, that, and what kind of experience, if any. And you really didn't need any experience in running this. A lot of it is common sense and the success guide. So,
It is true. Whatever they told us. They
Yeah.
told us what to expect. And, you go, okay, yeah, right. But no, it was true.
It was that easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And I mean,
yeah.
we started the process, I believe, in July of 2019, and we took possession of our first truck in September of 2019. Wow. So it's a short track if everything falls in line.
And
Yeah.
then COVID hit.
Well, I was going to get, so challenges. I know capital can be a challenge sometimes when starting a business.
We were fortunate enough that we had some savings left over from 2 homes that were sold.
Okay.
So we were fortunate
Those weren't
enough to
your
have that.
transactions, were they?
No, not at all.
But what other challenges then? If capital wasn't a big one, you had some money to get invested in it, getting started. What other things did you face?
I mean, they basically supply everything for us, to us, with the exception of ice and sugar. I mean, you source ice and sugar locally. Our biggest challenge, I think, at the beginning was finding a place to store and work out of.
Right, because we
lived in an apartment building.
Right.
Gotcha.
So we couldn't have the Kona
Couldn't
truck.
park it.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and the truck has to be parked in because of it has to be plugged in every night because of the freezers.
Gotcha.
So we didn't have. Yeah, that was a challenge, and finding a commissary.
Yeah.
For paperwork for the health department, that was a challenge, and finding vendors to work with was a challenge.
Vendors as far as
getting our ice and getting our sugar.
Okay. Tell me more about the sugar, because I know you've got very unique flavors compared to a lot of the other, snowball stands that I might visit. But
our franchise and most of the ones around central Maryland in the Baltimore area, we use pure cane sugar to make our syrups. Kona Ice does offer 2 other options for the base mix, but we were told by the old franchises that had been here for a while, sugar.
People like sugar.
Because they like sugar. They want sugar. Baltimore wants sugar.
We do offer, 5, 6 sugar-free options,
we do have
which
6
is a lot.
Yeah. Normally you'll find a snowball truck that maybe or whatever has 1 or 2. We did 6, know.
Yeah.
Of course, we have egg custard as sugar-free.
Yeah.
You have to have egg custard.
Yeah, that's a classic. Still one of my
Classic.
favorites. Yeah. What as far as the snowball truck versus a stand, because I know snowballs are and I keep calling them snowballs.
That's okay. We call them that the same. We call them that. Do you want to know the difference? The major difference?
Yeah, let's hear the
Okay,
major
so
difference.
the major difference between snowballs and shaved ice or snow cones, snowballs, the ice is crushed.
Okay.
Ours is shaved, almost like powdered snow.
It is exactly like snow.
Yeah, I guess it is pretty much exactly like powdered snow. So instead of it going into a circular grinder and comes out with large chunks,
chewing on it,
this comes out.
Yeah.
It comes out the consistency of snow.
Okay.
So
I can see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So
it does hold the flavoring. It actually holds the flavoring a little better too.
There's science.
A little bit.
So when it comes to having a vehicle versus a stand, because growing up, there was the ice cream truck that came by, but if you wanted a snowball, you're going to the stand. Do you guys feel like you have an advantage, or?
Well, we have an advantage where the stands can't really do the birthday parties. Like we can go and do a birthday party or any kind of
In your
party.
driveway.
Right, in your driveway. And also corporate work. We do so much corporate work. I would say 75% of what we do is corporate work. So, during COVID, all we had was going out and going through the neighborhoods and going to the food truck nights, because that's all there was.
Yeah.
And we were successful doing that. But now that, COVID's over and people are back to life, doing the neighborhoods doesn't really, because it doesn't pan out very well.
Just driving around with the jingle on doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because this area is so focused, and it's great, but so focused on going to the ball fields and no one's home. So we do go to the ball fields when we can.
We do, and we still do I still do neighborhoods.
Tim loves to do neighborhoods.
I love neighborhoods. It's just, as far as I'm concerned, it's easy to settle your mind and everything, and it just drive along and
Yeah.
screaming out the window
Do
or
you
out
have
the door.
strategic neighborhoods? Is
Oh,
it like,
yeah, of course.
okay, we don't have an event scheduled,
Yeah, he does.
so
Of course
I'm just
we
going to
do.
go choose a
He has
neighborhood and
his
drive it?
neighborhoods.
I have certain neighborhoods. We've always found out the townhouse neighborhoods they're
the
the
best?
ones. Townhouse
Okay.
neighborhoods.
Where
Yeah.
they don't have to go down a bunch of steps. They can get out quick.
Yeah.
All the
They're
houses
the
are bunched
houses
together,
bunched
and they're only 20 feet from the
Yeah.
curb.
And once
you
two
start
people get out,
Good for trick-or-treating and good for
right,
snowballs.
perfect, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly. That's where I take my kid.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit. I mean, we can get off of COVID if you want, but I know that obviously starting a business and then having the world shut down must have been terrifying. Maybe some other adjectives.
Yeah, a few.
What was that like? And then have you faced any other challenges getting
Well-
started, or has it been pretty simple after that?
Well, I know that. I mean, I don't think COVID was actually a hindrance for us. I actually think it was a good thing for us.
Sure.
I mean, we got out there and we met our customers where
Yeah.
we wouldn't have.
We met a lot of folks in Pasadena.
It
and
would have
Glen
taken
Burnie.
us years to meet the people that we met because everyone was just at home with nothing to do. They were so appreciative that
Yeah.
we were there. I mean, there's no bathroom on that truck, so I would like have to go to the bathroom, and like I had moms taking me into their homes during COVID.
Yeah.
So no, we got so well accepted.
It's so interesting.
And
And then corporate,
how that timing
corporate
and-
went to bat for us in different ways.
So this is a really good reason to have a franchise.
Tony hired somebody from the Small Business Administration or something, and this woman knew her way to cut through all that paperwork and red tape. We were a small franchise of one truck.
Yeah.
We didn't have an issue really. Okay, we knew we were going to be okay
loans.
with
With
loans,
those
and
Yeah.
and we knew we didn't need loans. We still had some of our savings left, and then we did get a grant or whatever.
And we didn't have employees.
And
It was just the three of us. Justin, Tim's son.
My son, yes, and but there were several franchises that were in jeopardy of having to close, and if I'm not mistaken, this thing helped them through, and she helped walk anybody that needed it through the loan process, and this, and on and on and on.
And then he went to bat with the loan companies saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
my people can't work. They need help. They can't make
Yeah.
these payments because
We
some
were-
people have
yeah.
12 trucks. We're small."
So we were able to make what they call touch payments on our vehicles, only paying $100 or $200 a month. I mean, I don't like to say, like I said, I don't like to use numbers, but it takes a fair amount of money to keep those trucks just in the driveway.
Sure.
So,
So that was huge.
That was huge there. That helped, and I mean that was what got us through. And then later on into 2020, things kind of relaxed a little bit. And then some of the larger we started getting some of this larger corporate work that came in because these people were like, somebody like Amazon was like, these people have been working these horrible hours and conditions under the threat of COVID the entire time. And so, the powers that be at Amazon were like, they were starting to hire us to say, hey, come in and feed these guys.
We wore masks and we did.
Yeah, of course.
And then another thing that corporate did was they sent us like spigots for our flavor wave where so no touch. So
okay.
they were always thinking about ways to help us.
Yeah,
Came
that's
up
great.
with the stuff that we were buying to go on
there was
all the workstations.
There was and I can't remember the name of this stuff off the top of my head, but it was like a bonding agent that you took and it's bio something. You sprayed it on any surface that, food would come into contact with. We sprayed it on everything and you just let it dry. And what it does is that even in fiberglass, there's micropores in fiberglass that germs can get into. Well, this stuff sealed all that stuff up and everything. So
that was another corporate thing.
That was another thing corporate came up with. It was just one thing after another. It was like
he would hire whoever he needed to get the answers he needed to help us.
That's impressive.
It is very impressive.
We have never heard anybody in any other franchise doing anything like that. So
Yeah.
I mean,
he told us to get back to basics. He goes, I know this sucks what's happened to us all. It's happened. He owns trucks too.
Yeah.
So I know this sucks, but get back to basics.
Drive through neighborhoods.
Drive through neighborhoods.
Yeah. That's what we drove through neighborhoods. I was in neighborhoods from 12 o'clock in the afternoon until 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and then you got to stop. The moms have to get these kids to bed.
Like a sugary snack right before bed.
Yeah, that was always good. That 7 to 8 o'clock hour. That was always good.
But yeah, that's what. And there's a lot of neighborhoods here in Pasadena.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Glen Burnie too, but we kind of do stay closer to home. But there's a lot of neighborhoods when you're trying to learn these neighborhoods to map them out to do neighborhoods. Because also another thing that corporate came up with was the kind of the delivery service,
almost like an on-demand delivery service. You could take and schedule an actual delivery to your home. We'd pull up in the driveway. We already had your order of what you wanted and everything.
This was just another way. It's another thing he came up with.
Somebody
to keep us.
I'm going to say it was a food truck app where you could order, and we had one of our guys at corporate, I think, tweaked it a little bit so that we could use it. Well, then I think he bought the rights to it and completely and totally turned it into something. Huh. And I mean, this is in a matter of weeks that this happened.
Mm-hmm. And then we were all using it.
So
we would schedule on Facebook that we're going to be in this area from this time to this time on this day, and then everyone would just, everyone would schedule an order, and then it was getting out of control. We were getting hours behind. And then we found we could just tell you where we are, and you would come to us. So then we decided to do that. That worked. Because remember we ran into the ladies at Greek on the Street, and they're like, "Where are you going? Stop!" We were at Tanyard Springs, right? We were getting ready to start all these deliveries that we had, and then we saw them in the food truck, that little food truck area, and they're like, "We want a Kona," and they're like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Oh, we have all these orders to deliver," and they're like, "Oh, we're just sitting here," and just told them we're coming.
Yeah.
And then that worked out well too. Because then also you'd say, hey, we're going to be here 6 to 8, and there would be no customers, and then you've committed to being there 6 to 8. So then so it's all balanced.
It can be a challenge.
It is.
Learning through experience.
It definitely can be a challenge.
That's interesting. So when you say, we would just let people know where we're going to be at, like, what exactly is that? Like how?
On Facebook.
Our Facebook page.
Yeah, we have a strong Facebook following.
How quickly did that grow? You start the page, and then what happens from there?
It was growing because we were telling everybody, and we still tell everybody. You guys friend us on Facebook, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you follow us on Instagram now? We got Instagram. So
were you doing that before?
I've always been crazy about business cards. Yeah, at wherever I've worked.
But the social media specifically, was that something new, or was that?
No, Facebook. I've always loved Facebook, and then I also had a Facebook low carb group called Living Low Carb in Maryland. Okay. And I had thousands of members, and then I got a Kona Ice truck and just kind of deserted them. So I feel terrible about that. But yeah, I've always loved Facebook, and love talking to people and telling what I'm up to. So yeah, I've been good on my Facebook.
Great tool for that.
It is. Sure. Facebook is an amazing, almost free tool. I mean, it's one of the best advertising mediums we have. We use.
We don't do a lot with Instagram.
Well, no, all our stuff is cross-posted.
Right.
So anything we post on Facebook goes on Instagram.
It's Meta now; they own them both. But
and then also corporate offers for a small fee that they will do like 3 posts a week for us. Yeah. So during the height of the season, we don't have to think about that.
Are you doing your own organic content, though?
Putting
your personality out there? Because I feel like that's going to work a lot better.
We put fun stuff out there.
Yeah.
Right, not just
not everything all business, not selly stuff all the time, I guess.
Yeah, I like to do videos,
I'm a vet, so I take and post, for any of the, service birthdays or, any of the important, those holidays or anything that comes up on my timeline and then we cross post for the schools. If somebody, like if Anne Arundel County Schools will post something about
a teacher in our area
or a student that's done something exceptional, we roll that through there and everything. Because it was interesting to us. It might be interesting to somebody else.
Right. Yeah. A nice birthday party idea,
What's up, Pasadena? I'm James Bowerman, your Pasadena Realtor and host of the Real Pasadena Podcast. As a lifelong resident, I've experienced firsthand what makes our town such an amazing place to live, work, and play. As a local real estate agent, having the opportunity to serve so many wonderful people in our community is truly a great honor. If you're thinking about making a move, let me show you how my knowledge and experience can help you achieve your real estate goals. To learn more or to schedule a private consultation, please visit realcreativegroup.com.
Yeah, I mean, community involvement is huge, and I wanted to talk on
that's
that
true.
and how you've been able to really connect with whether it's people within the community, obviously building relationships. You talk about the schools. How did that evolve?
Well, they've been so welcoming, such a welcoming community. Most of the schools, pretty much all the schools, have welcomed us. We do fundraising for them. During COVID, there were a lot of times we made donations of cards, free Kona cards to the schools so they could give them to the teachers. But we do, we usually give back 20%.
Yeah, usually when we do, so for a fundraising event, we'll give back up to 20% of our sales. And Rivera Beach, you use that as an example right now. Rivera Beach over here is, they're trying to rebuild their playground.
Jennifer Zulka.
And she had a target of somewhere in the, I want to say 70 or 80,000, because obviously playgrounds are expensive from what I understand.
Oh, yeah.
After talking to some of these folks,
yeah.
Playgrounds are expensive. And I imagine it's got something to do with liability on the equipment and stuff like that, which I can see that. But they put a target up there, but this woman knows how to fundraise.
She should be a
She
professional.
handles
fundraiser.
everything else, and she goes, you guys are coming, right? And it's like, yeah, we wouldn't miss it, because we profit as well.
Sure.
From these things.
It's a win-win.
But it
is
also
a win-win.
feels really good that we're giving them, X amount of dollars, just writing them a check right then and there. Hand it to her, and she's like, oh my God, this is great. This will go a long way, And
Yeah.
it's,
So is that part of the model within the franchise, or is this where you have some?
That is part of the business model. There's a label on our truck which is not accurate right now because it's gone well beyond that. Since its inception, Kona Ice has given back over $110 million to local communities and nonprofits. I believe it's probably in the neighborhood of 150 by now. That I think that label's a year or two old.
Yeah. We go to the football games. Glen Burnie, Chesapeake, Northeast, and they just show us where to park. We don't have to plug in or anything.
Yeah.
And then we give back 20% of our sales to the schools. Happy to do it.
And I think the schools are the most, I want to say they benefit the most out of, and it's a little bit of money. It really is. That little bit of money they are so happy to get and so grateful for, because it's the difference between them having, basketballs that year or whatever, something
Cross
like
country
that.
things that you wouldn't even think. I remember telling Tim we had to go to a cross country meet, or I remember telling him that we had to go to a swim meet at like 7:30 in the morning, and he's like, "I'm not going to any swim meet at 7:30 in the morning." And now he's like, "Oh, I love swim meets. Can I get there earlier?"
Well, who'd have thunk they were going to be eating snowballs at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Not something I would be thinking about having for breakfast. But
It's crazy, and the cross country meets. It was a little alarming the first time I was at one, and you expect the kids to run, but the parents were running so they could see their kid, and so I just I'm in the truck, and all of a sudden all these people are running, and I'm just sitting in the truck. But no, it's the best job I've ever had, and I don't know if it's just because we own it, and I'm sure that's a great thing, but no, if this was my job, just going to work every day, this would be a pretty great job, because all we're doing is making people happy.
Yeah. Giving back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some of the success you've had. So you started as a one truck operation.
Mm-hmm.
It's been almost 4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Ending 4 years, right?
What?
We're ending,
This was the fourth season.
so we're starting our fifth
Season.
Going into the fifth season.
Yep.
So at the beginning of our third season, we took possession of a second truck. we also bought we bought the rights to additional territory.
Okay.
So that's how the whole truck territory thing works. We work off of a protected territory system, so no other Kona Ice operator can work in our territory, and we don't work in their territory without their permission.
Makes sense.
That kind of protects the smaller franchises from the larger franchises, and But so we took territory. They allowed us to jump the Patapsco River into Baltimore City, and we bought some territory from Fells Point all the way out to North Point Park in Baltimore County.
Okay.
Specifically for all the industrial area, the industrial and the corporate work out there, because let's face it, Pasadena does not have a lot of corporate or industrial work.
Pasadena or Glen Burnie.
Or Glen Burnie, for that matter.
Yeah. So we bought Curtis Bay because we didn't have Curtis Bay. So we were getting corporate work in Curtis Bay, and then Amazon called, one of the big ones off Holabird.
Oh yeah.
Called and wanted us to do what we were just talking about it, sorting Saturday. And so that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was like our
we
first.
We got 4,000 associates that you've got 6 hours to feed.
That was crazy.
Okay.
That was our first, oh my God.
How did you adapt for that?
We just handled it.
Yeah.
We were scared.
It was just like,
we were scared to death. We probably argued so much, and then we got in there and we dealt with it. Right?
Put your head down and do it, right?
Right. That's what we do. Remember the first time Johns Hopkins called.
Right.
And they had 600 employees. 900 employees.
And we had 3 hours.
And we had 3 hours and only one truck.
No wiggle room.
One truck.
One truck. So, and they wanted marshmallow. Which the other franchises are like, are you out of your mind? You're going to marshmallow them? I'm like, this is Baltimore. They want marshmallow.
Yeah.
So, So Tim made it happen. But they did provide us helpers to really guide the line.
Yeah.
Are you engineering any sort of assembly lines?
Kind of. So I found a pump that was used for peanut butter sauce that I found somewhere along the line, and we adapted that for the marshmallow buckets.
But you couldn't let them marshmallow
themselves. You cannot let them, yes.
Because we ran out of marshmallow. We ran out of marshmallow.
Folks have a
tendency
to confuse a topping with a flavor.
Yeah.
we went through a whole thing in an hour when I was allowing the self-marshmallowing. So I have to marshmallow. But we got it, and we did it, and they loved it. But you worry. You've got this.
I don't like to run out of anything.
Yeah.
It's a real. And we've come. I don't think we've actually have. I think we've come close a couple of times.
You get worried. Like I've called Tim and going, I'm going to run out of ice. And he'd go, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to happen. I'm going to run out of ice. And then he gets there and I'm fine. But, you've got a long line and I don't want to tell anybody. It was one of.
You don't want to turn people
away. I did
away.
run out of ice one time at Chesapeake High School. Yeah.
Oh,
shout out to Mr. Yor.
He has actually asked customers to go get him ice when he thought he was going to run out. She was like one of our regular customers that I would text when we were going to be at a certain place. So I guess Tim figured, we text her every week. She can go get me some ice.
And she was happy to do it.
Yeah. A little Kona helper.
That's great. So you have 2 trucks now?
Yeah, now we have 2 trucks.
And your son's involved?
He is. Justin's 17. He can do anything on the operational end, from making and mixing syrup to service. The only thing he doesn't do on the operational end is drive.
Okay.
But he can run a window all by himself, because I remember the first Northeast football game we went to. It was that time when there was a gas spill or something on the gas leak
on a Friday night.
It was a Labor Day weekend, and so they canceled the game for Friday night. They rescheduled it for Labor Day. Tim had an Amazon job, so we figured that job was going to be busier than our football game that was rescheduled.
Yeah.
I even said, "Are you sure you're going to need us?" So we went there, and we got it was crazy. We had lines.
You got your butt
We ran
handed
out.
to you.
We ran out of spoons. I went to the snack bar and I was like, I need some spoons. She gave me like 6. I was like, well, that's just not going to work. So one of the guys working the snack bar put me in his car, and we went home back to our house and got ice and more spoons. But Justin handled the whole show. I mean, and he had a line. So
Yeah, he doesn't panic. He's good.
He is good.
Really is.
He's steady.
Yeah.
So you're going into your 5th year. What is that going to look like? Are you keeping it steady, expanding?
I don't know anything more about expanding, but we're gonna ride this for a while and see what happens. We're looking to, of course, get some more corporate work and some more. Get in some of the schools, some more of the schools. We're not in every school in our territory because some of them own snowball machines. I don't know whatever that's all about, but
Or they try to do it themselves.
Yeah.
But
Different experience.
yeah, it's a different experience. But yeah, no, I see when Tim says expanding, and maybe you meant another truck, I see expanding as also meaning us building more business.
Well, definitely. I would really.
Yeah.
I'd much rather expand that way than the other
Right.
way right now.
There's not really enough hours in the day, but somehow we make it work.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, we can figure this out.
Well, no, I mean, there's a path and a goal for everyone, right? And I think that's important to note, especially for anybody who's thinking about, starting a business, whether they want to be small or they want to be the next Elon Musk, right? There's a lot of wiggle room in between. And for you guys, you seem to kind of found like your comfort zone, like it's seasonal, like you just got back from a trip, during your off season where you can go on a Caribbean vacation and enjoy that time and not have the stress because you're putting in the hours during the warmer areas. But I do want to talk about hot chocolate and Santa Claus, so bookmark that. But do you ever see yourself getting off the truck, or is it you just love the interaction and the people that's going to be?
No,
I can't see myself ever leave. I mean, until I can't.
Right.
Until I can't do it anymore.
Until we can't get in the truck anymore. And I mean, there is a bit of a step.
Yeah.
Well, no, the back step comes down quite far enough I can get in there. So.
But no, Tim works really hard. I mean, I work hard, but he works so much harder. I mean, he's out there. Because a lot of our corporate work, they have shift work with like bakeries or, and we have what's the place?
Gold Bond.
Yeah, we have Gold Bond in Baltimore, which is they have different shifts.
Largest drywall manufacturer on the East Coast.
And then, we have bakeries that have 3 shifts. So Tim will have to go do a 10 to midnight shift, 2 to 3 days a week.
Yeah.
He has to do that and then get up for water aerobics the next morning. So we can start it all over again. But yeah, he works really, we work hard for we work 6 or 7 months hard. But then, then it slows down.
Yeah. So tell me about some of the freedoms you have to move in your own directions, I guess. Is the hot chocolate something that you guys came up with?
No, somebody had come up with that years ago as a
to service their corporate work.
When it got cooler. And to extend their season a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it was the colder climates, the northern franchises. And hot chocolate's pretty simple.
Sure.
Except for when you have to serve 9,000 of them, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, we did that. And then the Santa Claus idea, I don't know was that quite your idea?
I take credit for it, though.
Okay.
It was Wendy's idea.
Yeah, it was my idea.
So we decided on the custom delivery thing that we were doing during COVID. We decided, well, why can't we do this with, you call us and book a Santa Claus visit, and this was during COVID. This was 2020. This was Christmas of 2020 that this was going on.
So you couldn't go to the mall and take your kid to see Santa.
Yeah.
But Santa could roll up in a Kona truck wearing a mask and everything. And, you know, he stayed in the window and, you know, you could get pictures taken and get a Kona Ice or an ice cream treat or hot cocoa or hot cider.
So that was quite popular. I booked like what?
We booked 80 of them, I think.
It was
in
crazy.
The first December, it was 80 visits over 20 days. So we were doing an average of 4 of them a day.
Rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love how you guys leaned into, you know, what for some was a very difficult time, and you just found opportunities.
We'd gone all in.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't really have a backup plan, so we had to make this one work.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we were fortunate enough, like
motivation
I said,
too.
with corporate's help, because I can't say enough about the support that we get from corporate.
Well, I guess that's the difference, but starting a business on your own versus having the corporate help.
And
you know?
of course, all franchises aren't alike, and ours is the best. So that's what it boils down to.
So on that note, what advice would you give to you guys have only been doing this for 4 years, so I want to say you could go back and have a whole lot of advice to give yourselves, but going through what you've been through, maybe for somebody who's thinking about, you know, starting a business or, you know, maybe a franchise is a better path for me, what would you tell them?
Make sure you got enough money to live off of for about 2 years.
Okay.
Because you're really not going to start drawing a profit, you know, right off the bat.
It takes time.
It takes time. It takes time to build your book of business and get these customers, repeat customers. If you're going to choose a franchise, which there's nothing wrong with a franchise at all, do your research. Do your due diligence. Look, I mean, like I said, I spent weeks looking, and I couldn't find it, you know. And I think I'm pretty good with Google, you know. So, and then I actually took it upon myself to call a franchisee that was in Baltimore. And of course, their first question is, "Did you talk to Tony yet?" Because they don't want you to give up any information really that you can't find on the internet, because there's a lot of it out there. None of the information that's not on the internet, of course, they don't want it, you know, given away to anybody until you talk to him. And I was like, no. I said, we were just trying to get a feel for what it's like and this, that, and the other thing. And it was like, well, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, is that all you got? Well, you need to talk to Tony. So it's okay, all right, we're working on that.
You'll be seeing her soon.
I know.
Yeah. Well, business is certainly a lot of work, so definitely not.
It is
for
a lot of
somebody
work.
with
It takes,
the faint
I
heart.
mean, I work 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for about 8 months. Not many days off in there.
Unless it rains.
And then corporate work usually doesn't stop for rain, but the little stuff does. Birthday parties and little stuff like that.
Downs Park. We're very lucky that we have our Downs Park connection.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't say enough wonderful things about Downs Park.
We're under contract by the Friends of Downs Park, and we give them part of our agreement. Of course, we pay them a percentage of our sales, and they give us exclusivity in the park. There's no other food truck allowed in the park
Unless they're having
an actual event in there. We have the freedom to come and go as we please in there. And it's always a good, if you got a couple hours here, a couple hours there. A lot of times I'll go in there at 11:30, 12 o'clock on a Saturday and won't leave till 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
And we're
steady moving.
And that is and we're an asset to them, but they're also an asset, because we have this beautiful park, but we make it a better place to be.
Yeah.
Because there's only like one hidden Coke machine there in the entire park.
Tell you where
and we're not telling you where it's at.
I just found it after 4 years. I just found it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. I love going there, and certainly having you guys there certainly makes it better. And it sounds like a lot of the relationships you've built are really win-win. And,
definitely.
Well, that's the only way to continue a good relationship. It's got to be beneficial on both parties.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, to wrap it up, where can everyone who's watching or listening connect with you guys? Where can they get a hold of you and learn more about Kona Ice and how they can support you and the community? They can
check us out on Facebook, Kona Ice in Northeast Anne Arundel County. Email is ttroutman@kona-ice.com.
Yeah.
And if you find us on Facebook, you can find all those numbers and everything to get a hold of us. We take phone calls, we take emails, we take text messages and instant messages.
I even answer the phone when it rings.
Well, on that note, thank you guys so much for
Thank you.
being on the podcast today. Thank you for everything you're doing for the community, and I wish you all the best of success.
Well,
Thank you, and we wish you success.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Real Pasadena Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Real Pasadena is your local online source where we cover the real news and highlight the real people impacting our community. Be sure to check us out at realpasadenamd.com, where you'll also find all the show notes and additional episodes of the podcast. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, be well, my friends.